going on, guys? So it is late Friday afternoon. Haven't had a chance to fish all week. Got about an hour and a half until sunset. So we're going to try to get into some fish. Going to be fishing my Daiwa Presso combo. So my Daiwa Presso Extra Ultralight rod, Daiwa Presso reel, and some 3-pound Daiwa fluorocarbon. So my super light ultralight rod. I'm going to start out fishing these Nikko Pin worms. So I've used these a couple times, not too often. Want to start fishing them a little bit more. It's a very nice little soft plastic, very slim finesse presentation, but it is very long and skinny. And last time I fished it, kind of the tail just kept getting pulled by a bunch of small fish. So I'm hoping that there's some bigger fish that can kind of just engulf the entire thing, and that they're not just going to bite the tail and kind of just pull it off of the jig head. So we'll put these onto a little jig head. We'll cast it around, and let's hope we can get into some panfish. Alright, so let me just give you a better look at the lure. It's fairly small, got somewhat of a fat body here where the jig head goes, and then tapers down very fast to a super thin tail. It is a very nice lure, has a great action in the water. This part of the tail here is super floppy, attracts the fish really well, and as always, Nikko products are always super stretchy, super durable. I mean, you can see the flakes in there kind of bulging, and it is not going to rip apart. So the fish do like to grab the tail here, but they're not going to be able to rip this thing off. So we'll cast this out here. Very windy day. This might be a little bit too light for today, but we'll see if we can make it work. That is just a bunch of algae. So not off to a great start, but let's get this algae off and let's try to get ourselves a fish. There we go. Fish on, second cast of the day. Oh, that's a largemouth, I think. Oh, and it's off. That is disappointing. Second cast of the day, we got it into a little nice largemouth. So the worm is still in good shape, but I can't believe we lost that guy. Fish on. Oh, this is a tiny largemouth. Not the one that I lost, but I'll take it. Yeah, so not the largemouth that I lost just a minute ago, but a couple casts later we got this tiny little dink of a largemouth. So definitely not going for big fish today, but I would like something bigger than this little guy. Fish on. Oh, this one's a little bit bigger, not by much. It's another little dinky sized largemouth that just swam under all this algae. And he's off. You gotta be kidding me. All right, caught one little dink, lost two slightly larger dinks. This is a tough lake to fish at sometimes here just because it's covered in algae and it kind of happens randomly. But unfortunately today we're gonna have to work through all this algae to get any sort of fish. Oh, there we go. That's another one. Little dink of a largie. Another one on the bank. All right, so I lost the 3 larger of the largemouths, caught the 2 of the smaller largemouths, so that doesn't make me happy. But I got my hands on another fish, getting lots of bites, so we'll get this one back and we'll try to get something bigger and hopefully a bluegill. That's what I'm really after. Oh, just got bit. There we go. Another largemouth. Saw this guy come from under the algae pile. Yeah, so this guy got that worm nicely in his mouth. Gave him an extra second. I saw him hit. So he is hooked actually really well. Let's try to get this out of him. There we go. All right. So another largemouth on the Nikko Pin Worm. No bluegills yet though. I was trying to target some larger panfish here. This lake usually has some nice sized bluegills, but not today. So I'm getting a good amount of bites. However, as anticipated, it seems like they're just biting the tail, pulling it, and not getting the actual hook part in their mouth. So I'll keep fishing it, but if this keeps happening, I might have to try a smaller lure like that. That's another hit. Like, I'm getting a good amount of hits. However, every single time it comes back without a fish, and it's kind of pulled off the hook a little bit. So I might have to tie on something that's just a little bit shorter, just so when they bite it, they bite the hook too. There we go, another little guy. This is the first bluegill of the day. Finally, I have had so many bites from these guys, at least I think it was these guys, and we finally barely hooked one. Yeah, so over in this spot, I've been getting tons and tons of hits, usually a little bit farther out, basically right when I cast out. But they've all been super, super small, and I've been unable to hook up with anything out there. And then I finally got into one of those little bluegills. So there's probably a school of these bluegills out there, and they're essentially just way too small to get that entire pinworm with the hook in their mouth. And they've just been biting the edge of it. So we got one, we know what those guys are. Let's move on. Oh, that's a fish. That's a bigger fish. Pulling a little bit of drag, putting up a nice fight, like every single fish does on this. Let's see what this is though. Oh, it's a nice bluegill, yes. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I was going after. Nice adult copper nose, finally. Yes, no, this is what we were going after. A very, very nice adult male copper nose bluegill. Beautiful colors on the head between the pink, the purple, and the gold. So we finally got a big one on the pinworm. Oh, that's a nice fish. Oh, he's pulling drag. That's probably going to be a mine cichlid if I had to guess. Hope I can get him in. On this extra ultralight, it will be a challenge. Try to play him in here nice and easy. If it's a bass, it's going to be a big bass, but I don't think it is. It's probably going to be a mine cichlid because those guys can fight really, really well. Oh, that is a bass. Is it? I think it's a bass. Actually, he's not even as big as I thought. He was just putting up a good fight on this rod. It's the biggest fish of the day. Oh, this is a nice one. Look at this guy. That is a nice largemouth. Let me reach down here and grab him. This is a really, really nice fish on the pinworm. Yeah, so check this guy out. He is hooked well in the corner of the mouth. This is a nice little largemouth bass. Really didn't think it was. Was very confident it was going to be a mine cichlid, but we got this very, very nice largemouth on that not so big little Nikko pinworm. So let's get this guy back and let's keep going. little guy, but we got him. Another tiny little bluegill. Tons of these guys today, but I've only caught 2. Had tons of bites from these guys, is what I'm trying to say, but only 2 have been able to get the hook inside their mouth. Yeah, so I've just been working this lure very slowly. I'll cast out, let it sink just a little bit, and then just a super slow, moderate retrieve has gotten me a ton of hits today. I'm not trying to do anything too fast or too fancy, and this super soft and floppy tail, even with this very slow and not much action of a retrieve going on, I'm not twitching it or anything, but the tail's flopping around really nicely, and that is getting me bites today. So let's try to get one more here, and then we'll call it a day. There we go, fish on, another little largie. So I thought we were gonna get a lot more bluegills, but instead we got a lot more largies. Yeah, so another tiny little dink of a largemouth. That's what it's been today, basically. Outside of a couple little outliers, we mostly just got all these little dink largemouths. So we'll get this guy back, and then we will wrap it on up. Alright, so that's going to do it. In some respects, the day went exactly how I thought it would, and in others, it did not. But the Nikko Pin Worm is a super small, super simple lure. Thick body where the hook goes, and then super thin tail here that flops around nicely. So the day did go how I thought it would because we got a ton of bites. This lure just kind of gets these fish to bite even if they don't want to. However, I also knew that we were probably going to not be able to hook up with a bunch of them because this lure does have a very long tail. A lot of fish are just going to kind of grab the end of it, pull, and never get their mouth around the hook. And a lot of times, probably a couple dozen, the lure came back kind of looking like that. But when we did get into some larger fish, if a large fish bites this, it's going to get hooked. And we got one nice bluegill, one nice largemouth. And if you're fishing an area that has a larger population of larger panfish, bluegills or whatever, you're probably going to get a bunch of them. Just when you're fishing an area that has a larger population of smaller fish, kind of like this lake does, a lot of little small bluegills, you're going to be somewhat frustrated because you're going to miss a lot of bites. But it's still a great little lure, still in amazing shape after all those fish, and it's such a thin, fragile tail, but it's still in great shape. So it just speaks to the durability of the Nikko soft plastics. So pretty good day out here on the water. One nice largemouth, one nice bluegill, and a bunch of little smaller fish. So yeah, hope you guys liked it, and I will see you next time.